Thank you, Mr. Chair, and appreciate witnesses being here today, but appreciate even more the jobs that you do in serving people and your cities and the country. I want to follow up on the consent decree issue. And I guess we're all affected by our own personal experiences, but based on my experiences, having been a prosecutor and then doing mainly civil litigation, but getting court appointments time to time, and also being a felony judge and a chief justice, seen it from a lot of different angles. And it led me to believe that my friend, and he's a brilliant intellect, had clerked for Supreme Court, had he's just a smart guy. Mark Levin had said he felt like the consent decrees were being used to federalize local police departments. And it certainly appeared from what I'd seen personally that when departments were having to spend money and time on the experts, they really do. They make a career out of being expensive and being indispensable under consent decrees, that there's a lot of money wasted on those people that should be wasted, not wasted, but actually spent where it's more productive on people, manpower, and equipment to keep them safe. And it always seemed to me, having watched a federal judge there in my hometown of Tyler take control of the state prison system, as he was the legislature, executive, and judicial branch all in one, as he managed the prison systems in Texas for, I don't know, over 30 years, I think, that certainly seemed unconstitutional, that no one person should have that kind of authority for that period of time to run facilities and systems. But again, that was under a decree that was agreed to, basically giving the federal government one federal judge that kind of control. But I had a court appointment who told me that after the federal judge took control of the Texas prison systems, he had been in prison before and he'd been in after, and there was night and day difference. After the federal judge took control, he was in much more danger, and it was much more difficult to do time in prison. But in any event, I would like to see, I mean, it seems like if there is a problem, I always felt like there should be a lawsuit, get it straight, but the oversight doesn't continue. It just ends up, if we have to come back, it's going to be more expensive again, and then leave it to the locals to clean it up with their knowledge that if they don't, the federal government will come back in and it'll be more expensive and costly next time. I don't believe, has Houston been under a consent decree? I did not think you had.
No, sir, not that I'm aware of. I've only been there 6 months, and I'm pretty certain we've never been under a consent.
And I would hope that was not something you were looking forward to.
No, that's a lotto ticket no police chief would like to win, to be honest with you.
Well, Sheriff McDonald, I get the impression that's not someplace you wanted to be either, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I also wanted to ask you about something that constantly come up over the last 8 years, this emphasis on people in federal prison for simple possession. And the public was given the impression that we had lots of folks in federal prison for simple possession. And my experience was that if there was nothing but simple possession, the feds left that to the state for prosecution. About the only time we hardly ever saw the feds take a simple possession was when somebody agreed to a plea agreement to testify, and in return, they would only pursue the possession. For those who say that drug crimes are victimless crimes, I would just like to finish by hearing each of your opinions on whether or not simple drug offenses or victimless crimes. Sheriff McDonald, if you could.
You know, I look at simple possession cases in the state of California based on Prop 47 are now a citation, not just once, but every time you're caught, and it doesn't matter the type of drug. So we're probably in a different place than many states. But the drug market, the drug industry, if you will, drives crime. It is organized crime. The cartels are involved. There is violence associated with it from the lowest levels to the highest levels. So to say that it's a victimless crime, and I think is very wrong. When you look at what's happening today across America with our opioid crisis, and you see we're losing 91 people a day in this country to overdoses, primarily from opioids. And you look at that and you just see these are primarily young kids, 18 to 25, and fentanyl has now been introduced to the market, which is extremely powerful, deadly in some cases with carfentanil in particular. And you look at where that's taken us. At the same time, we're moving away from using the tools of the justice system to be able to deal with drugs. And I don't believe that those are the tools that should be used solely. It is a health problem. It needs to be dealt with as a health problem. But I think we also need to be able to have leverage to be able to get people into treatment. We've lost that in California. By having that leverage, using the criminal justice system, we have the ability to get people into treatment and hopefully be able to get their lives back on track. Without that leverage, people don't have the ability, based on their addiction, to get themselves into treatment and to be able to break that cycle of dysfunction that we see too often.
I'd ask the chairman's indulgence if I could have all three answer that question.
I'm the only one that hasn't asked their questions yet. I was trying to get done by noon, but if you can accommodate Judge Gohmert with whether or not drugs are a victimless crime, I'm happy to wait longer.
Chief Thompson.
Not a victimless crime, but we do, especially for the first offenders, try to defer what we can from court to get the type of assistance that they need to stop their dependency or to, in most of the cases are handled at the city and county level or state level for us with state statutes. And we're not filling the federal government with, or federal penitentiary with simple possession.
Thank you. Mr. Canterbury.
The vast majority of traffickers in the federal sector are very, very involved in the violent side of narcotics. It's a misnomer that their federal prison is full of nonviolent drug offenders.
Thank you. Chief?
Well, I don't have the data with me, but I think we need to be smart on crime, especially in a time when we have limited resources. So we need to distinguish between those that are simple users that, as Secretary Kelly has said, we need to start getting those people treatment, not putting them in prison. We were charging people with felonies for having 3 bundles of cocaine for personal use. So we have to differentiate true dealers that are out there poisoning our streets with people that are just addicted. So treatment goes a long way in getting rid of the underlying problems.
Thank you, Chief.